The ABB FIA Formula E Championship gets underway for a double header here in Berlin. It's a modified circuit at the Berlin Tempelhof Airport, and it's Saturday morning, which means we're ready for free practice number 2 to get underway. Let's cross over to the world feed for all of the action.
Very hard to allow him to be able to do that and also to learn circuits. But also Porsche had Antonio Felix da Costa, who topped the timesheets yesterday. So from a car setup and general understanding of how the car will be around here, I think they've got a good direction. So I expect him, by the time we get to the end of this one, maybe not to be 100% feeling and confident, but to be in the mix.
Yeah, of course, the teams will have been working on that setup back at base as well in the simulator, and you're making sure they've got a
circuit is built up very much in the environment, so you need to correlate what you find in FP1 with the simulator information and the pre-work that you've done there, and that's something that was done yesterday. But Pascal, obviously his car wasn't taking any attempt in that, as now you see him starting the lap, accelerating hard down the start-finish straight. It's a long one, and it's also a very long finish. That's where the finish point is, so I'd still expect to see some overtaking as you come down to the line on the final lap.
Yeah, you can see this left-hander, so you go through turn 1, that's the sort of fast king, and then turn 2, which I've nicknamed Skymaster because the plane that's on the inside of turn 2 is a Douglas C-45, also nicknamed as the Skymaster. So he goes through that corner, then through turns 3 and 4 on this run through the straight. Well, I say straight, it's not really, because it's a fast left-handed kink, and then go into this very wide braking zone.
Right, it's really wide. It just invites you to take a nice wide line coming in, miss the first apex, and then kiss the second apex. But this area is narrow as you go down towards turn 9, yeah, and that particular one, I think, is important to get a clean exit. It's a long exit, so you're putting a lot of energy through that right-hand rear tyre as you're accelerating out.
Yeah, so you might notice some new names on the timing sheets here this weekend. We've got 5 replacement drivers on the grid. So just to do a bit of housekeeping for you if it's your first time joining us here this weekend. Over at Envision, no Sebastian Buemi, no Robin Fries in those seats this weekend. We've got Joel Eriksson, a Swedish driver who's raced in Formula E before back in 2021. He will be looking to try and improve on his best finish of 16th here in Berlin in season 7. On the other side of the garage, the Estonian Paul Aron, 20-year-old who's racing in Formula 2 at the moment.
And just that on our screen there is one of the batteries of Pascal Wehrlein. That was one of the ones that was changed out of his car and a new one put in. And it will then be taken away and actually inspected in absolute detail to find out what the source of that problem was. But they'll also have to inspect the inverter, they'll have to inspect the e-motor, they'll have to inspect every part of the car that was damaged by that energy surge.
Yeah, certainly. Well, this is Jehan Darubla, by the way, who had a really strong free practice 1 yesterday, finished 5th, just behind teammate Max Günther. Maserati's out of the blocks looking pretty handy here. I know it's early days so far, but that's a good way to start your day. But you can see here, down in towards turn 9, I think this is going to be a real sticking point coming into qualifying, especially in the group stages when you've got 11 drivers on track.
Yeah, and you see that somebody's already rubbed against the outside wall and taken one of the branding points away, flying around. We saw a little bit of that yesterday, and so it's quite clear that now they'll be squeezing the last centimetres between the car and the wall to make sure they get a good run. Darubla goes quickest, so it certainly is. Maserati are looking a lot stronger. Both the cars were up there yesterday, as you said.
Yeah, it certainly were. Just looking here at Jake Dennis as well as he funnels his way in towards turn 2. It's interesting because there's so much advertising hoarding around the track. He said it was really hard to find his reference point, you know, going into the braking zones, essentially. He said, you know, normally he'd, I guess, pick a point on a concrete wall, but when it's just sort of stuck with banners, as you can see on the outside of the circuit, he was really not able to find the sort of right areas to hit the brakes, basically.
Yeah, the thing is that you're always trying to find one position or another, and you have to find basically 2 positions, because one of them, as Edo Mortara just pops himself to the top of the timesheets, and they will be getting quicker as the circuit cleans up this morning as well, but is for your quali runs at 300 in the groups, 350, and also for your race run when you're doing a lot of lifting and coasting. So therefore they've got to try to find some, I would say 2 or 3 different sort of braking points into every single corner.
You can see they're scrubbing that speed off with the understeer going through the final few corners there, that triple apex left-hander that Alan was alluding to earlier on. Just to continue a bit more with housekeeping as well, because, as I said, 2 new names over at Envision. Over at Neil McLaren, Taylor Barnard still in the seat replacing Sam Bird after a super sub last minute a couple of weeks ago in Monaco. Also over at Mahindra, no Nick de Vries this weekend. He's also over on wet duties. Jordan King, Mahindra's long-term test driver, in the seat. So looking forward to seeing what the 30-year-old British driver can do. And finally, Kelvin van der Linde returns to the Abt Cupra team. He is in for Nico Muller, who again likewise is over at Spa-Francorchamps. We saw Kelvin last year substituting for an injured Robin Freins. Hasn't raced here at Berlin before, has raced in Germany, has had a fair amount of success in GT cars, including a couple of wins at the Nürburgring 24 hours.
Yeah, Kelvin van der Linde basically is a South African living in Germany most of his racing career, so, and also he knows the Abt team extremely well. Lived and I think still lives down in Kempton where Abt are based, and driver I know pretty well, and he'll be quick.
Certainly will. Just seeing on our timing screens here, this is Max Günther. You can see on your screen at the moment. He's got a black and white flag, driving unnecessarily slowly
at this particular point of the circuit. And this is something I think we're going to see, people wanting to open up the lap as well as they can. Cassidy?
Quite a lot of changes in the last corner. Take me a while to explain to you.
Yeah, exactly.
What's he doing?
I need everything back to yesterday. So just one by one, tell me, and I'll do it.
So interesting there to hear from Nick Cassidy. Not the happiest bunny on team radio at this stage of the morning.
Yeah, obviously there's been quite a few changes, and you need to break them down into basically little pieces so that he can actually understand exactly what's doing what.
Yeah, just looking there at the race suits inside the Jaguar garage at the moment, including those of their reserve drivers. So Eda Mortara then here just coming out of the run from turn 7 and again into that braking zone of turn 9. Just gets balked there by the Abt Cupra, who moves offline.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a point that we're going to be talking about, is that exact balking, because Maxi Günther has had a black and white warning flag for driving unnecessarily slowly in the last corner as he was trying to get the optimum line to open up his lap and maximise his speed down this long straight. We saw it a little bit in FP1 yesterday with a bit of confusion there. And the thing is, if you're opening the lap, you are going slow to maximise it, but if you're on a lap, you're arriving so fast into that quick triple left-hander.
This is Joel Eriksson. Let's just have a look as he comes out of turn 9. What's going to happen here for the Envision? He's going to clip the ball. He is, yeah.
He was the person that clipped it at the beginning. Yeah. And that's more than a clip, actually.
Let's have a look. It's a fair old graze, isn't it?
Yes, you've got to be very careful, because that can send a little shock into the wheel, which then sends it into the drive shaft and into the gearbox of the front motor. So it's something that they'll be looking at the data to see exactly how much of a shock has gone into the system.
Yeah, there is Mitch Evans, winner from Monaco a fortnight ago. He heads out onto the circuit for another run. His first win actually in Monaco as well. Finished on the podium a couple of times. Always been the bridesmaid, but never the bride. Up until, as I said, last time out, because he was incredibly impressive. Indeed, the entire Jaguar team were. It was a strategic masterclass from them. Bit of a Noah's Ark formation we ended up with in the race. We had 2 Jaguars, followed by 2 DS Penske's, followed by 2 of the Porsches. And essentially they all worked together, so they had the driver who was behind them backing the other ones up. So when they went into attack mode, they had clear air, essentially, and the Jaguar team just absolutely performed to perfection when the circumstances were in their favour. Really impressive performance from them, and they were delighted with the 1-2. I understand that a few of them had to delay their flights home because they had a bit of a sore head on the morning.
Yeah, but to be honest, that's the best reason to miss your flight, is because of a victory in Monaco. But here in Berlin, I think that type of strategic race, as we see Paul Aaron coming through, he's one of the replacement drivers, second in the Formula 2 Championship at the moment, and someone, actually his brother also races as well, so you know, it's a real racing family from Estonia. And he was getting up to speed pretty quickly yesterday.
An incredibly articulate young man as well, actually. He was on the E-pad with Karun after FP1 yesterday, and just the way he was describing and explaining, you know, maturity beyond his years, really, really impressive from Paul Aaron. You can see what he's going to do this weekend, actually.
Yeah,
good shot window.
And also the leader of the championship, Zane Maloney, will be driving on Monday in the rookie test for Andretti. So, you know, you've got a lot of really energetic, driving young people that are going to be showing exactly what they can do over the course of this weekend.
Just looking here at Sergio Sette Camara as he makes his way past the Envision in towards that turn 9 hairpin where we're seeing a few drivers getting slowed down. Special livery, special helmet I should say rather, for Sergio Sette Camara this weekend. Looks like an Ayrton Senna replica. Of course, it is 30 years since we sadly lost the 3-time Formula 1 world champion. And there are a few tribute designs knocking about. Sette Camara there, incredibly close to the wall through the final corner as well.
Yeah, there's Lucas Di Grassi, whose quickest went into the pits behind.
It's been the worst start to a season for Lucas Di Grassi. So far, just 1 point on the board with that Abt Cupra in 2024 so far. He'll be certainly hoping for a bit more forward progress here in its home race in Berlin this weekend. Of course, Abt Cupra changing alliances for season 11 as well, going and joining forces with Lola and also Yamaha as well. So keen to see how that partnership is going to develop in towards season 11 as we look at Nick Cassidy making his way out of turn 9. So just over 17 minutes of this session remaining then. See that Lucas Di Grassi is currently quickest from Max Günther, Eden Mortara up there as well, and Jehan Daruvala. Oliver Rowland inside the top 5, so a fair eclectic mix at this particular stage of the session up the top of the order. And a few drivers now beginning to start their attack mode lap, so planning a bit of qualifying prep. You can see that with their names flashing in pink on the tower graphic on the left-hand side of your picture. As we look here at Paul Aaron into the pit lane. Let's head down to Saunders, who is in the pit lane. Just under 17 minutes of the session left. What have you got for us down there, Saunders?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, it's more just food for thought and kind of following what you were just saying there. Looking at the likes of Di Grassi, Günther, or maybe Mortara, Daruvala, Paul Aaron, all people not necessarily expected to be up there when it comes to the qualifying groups and the duels later on. But with only 4 drivers being able to get out of each of the qualifying groups, there's a potential chance for some serious upset for the championship contenders in what is going to be a very energy-sensitive race. So if those, let's say rogue timings going on at the moment, obviously a lot can change in this time left in the session. But yeah, there could be a potential upset on the cards here.
Very good point there, Saunders. Yeah, I think that there is a possibility for an upset here this weekend, especially if you consider the likes of the teams that have got their full-time drivers with some replacements on the other side. I'm thinking of the likes of Eden Mortara with Jordan King on the other side of the garage, and then also Abt Cupra with Kelvin van der Linde, with Lucas Di Grassi on the other side. Opportunity knocks for them. Yeah,
it certainly is, there's no question, and at the end of the day, the pressure is more on the seasoned driver than it is on the driver coming in. However, I think the opportunity is more in qualifying in the race, because, as Saunders mentioned, it's going to be a very energy-sensitive race, so the understanding and experience of how to play that game, especially in a wide-open circuit like this, I think will be key, and that's where the experience will come in. And so I would think we're going to see maybe surprises more in qualifying than ultimately in the race result, but I'll take it whichever way, to be honest.
Well, we're expecting what we call a peloton-style race. So for those who are new to Formula E, first of all, welcome. It's fantastic to be company. We hope that you enjoy your stay here. But second of all, a peloton-style race essentially is what we call an energy-sensitive race. So the drivers have got 38.5 kilowatts, which is the maximum amount of energy that is allowed in these Formula E cars available at their disposal. However, they don't have enough energy to complete the race. It's a 40-lapper. It's a very energy... what's the word I'm looking for?
Basically, they don't have enough energy to drive flat out, so they've got to conserve and recuperate some energy to make it to the end, and that's part of the strategy of it. But it's also part of one of the benefits of this is that you can, with the software, develop more and more capability to recover energy to use on acceleration. So that's one of the particular parts. And at the same time as well, with these wide open circuit, it means that a little bit like the Giro d'Italia that's on at this moment in time. If you're sitting into the pack, then you can conserve energy, and then you store it up and save it for later. But it's when do you release the pin and go? And as we saw in Misano, Oliver Rowland thought he had enough to make it to the end and run out when leading on the final lap. So it's not all said and done until the checker flag drops.
No, exactly that. We're looking forward to seeing what is going to happen here this afternoon. Of course, it's 40 laps for the E-Prix here today, and there's 2 laps fewer tomorrow as well. So again, strategy could be completely turned on its head. And 2 laps may not sound like a particularly massive difference, but in these cars, where they're maximising every opportunity, that's night and day.
Give or take, it's 2% if you're to take it. And as a Scotsman, I always like 2% more in my pocket than 2% less.
looking here at Taylor Barnard, really impressed with him actually in Monaco a fortnight ago. Jumped into that seat at the last opportunity because Sam Bird had a crash in FP1, so into the car for FP2. Qualified last on the grid, but actually ended up finishing in 14th place.
Yeah, good improvements, mate. Just keep chipping away. Main loss is still turns 1-2. Roland pushing.
And that's the voice of Stephen Lane, who's the usual race engineer for Sam Bird. Sam actually here this weekend, still supporting McLaren. He was out on the track walk yesterday, just giving some advice to Taylor, departing his 10 years of Formula E experience onto the youngest driver who's on the grid.
Yeah, Sam pushing to get back, obviously with damaged left hand from the incident in Monaco, and he's looking to be back in China for the next race. We hope he is. In the meantime, playing the team game very well by supporting the rest of McLaren. There he is.
Right on cue. Yep, Sam Bird with his...
You going to give us a wave, Sam?
Wonderful hairdo. He was in the grandstands yesterday, watching on as a Papaya superfan. Oh, there he is. He's in the grandstands as well. He's coloured his teeth in. He looks like he's had a fight outside of Wetherspoons here. Well, at least he finds the funny side of it. So 12 minutes left of this session. Lucas Di Grassi, it is, that leads the way. Here is Jean-Eric Vergne, who I think was a little bit frustrated actually with his teammate, Stoffel Vandoorne. Stoff back onto the podium in Monaco a couple of weeks ago for the first time since 2022, but Vergne was hoping that Vandoorne would attack the two Jaguars in front, but it never came to be.
Yeah, never came to be on that particular occasion, but you know, you can never discount Jean-Eric. Even although when they've not been quite as competitive, he's always in there fighting. And that's one of the reasons that brought him 2 drivers' titles.
You see them constantly soaring away at the wheel here as well. This is one of the unique features of Formula E, down to the tyres, of course. They don't have as much grip as slicks do, so they're constantly fighting at the wheel to try and find as much grip as they can.
Yeah, and also, at the end of the day, the car has got more power than it does grip. And so you've got to dance it around a little bit and make it work underneath you. It's not that you're sort of sitting into that downforce, high tyre grip type of scenario.
Just looking at Taylor Barnard coming out of the pit lane. He's got a helmet design that was designed by his dad. He's had it since he was 10 years old, actually, believe it or not. And here is Jordan King then, currently last in the standings at the moment, but on a personal best lap in the second sector and the third sector. Let's see what this final is going to be. Slightly wide there at the final couple of corners, but manages to pick it up for that third and final apex. As he comes to the timeline, where does Jordan King go? He's 6th quickest then, so just under half a second shy of the fastest time set by Lucas Di Grassi.
Red flag?
Yeah. I wonder if that might be due to debris.
This is a red flag. It is for a stupid banner that is on the racetrack in the racing line. Everyone has the ability to exceed the 50K to make this quick, so we can pick it up and get back going, please. Everybody has the ability to go faster than 50K.
So the red flag out. Timer continues to count down then at this particular point, but there is the banner that is on the exit of turn 4. Scott Elkin there, not mincing his words.
Yeah, basically these are concrete blocks that are painted, and then there's a banner stuck to them. And as we saw with, can't remember who it was, Joel Eriksson
yep.
coming out of one of the corners, got a bit of a slide on and kissed the wall and has dislodged the beginning of the banner. And fundamentally that happens quite a lot.
Yeah,
and,
not the first time we've seen it this weekend either. Actually, we saw it yesterday in one of the Envisions, didn't we?
Depends on the bonding. Here we see a kiss against the wall. That was, again, quite a hard hit, but it's actually taken that second part of it away. It's already been ripped, and then ripped it off the wall.
Yeah, that was Dan Tinkson there, who just had a slight kiss with the barrier.
We saw a beautiful slide from Dan Tinkson earlier on in one of the shots, a nice slow-mo 3 times where he was sawing at the wheel, trying to get it sort of moving underneath him.
Okay, everybody, this is going to be a pretty quick turnaround. I'll give you, I'll try to give you like a 45-second heads up.
So there you can see the steering wheel red, mean red light. You can't go at 9:02, the countdown, how long to go in the session. Then the right-hand side was the tyre pressures, all in green. So they work on numbers, but also in colour, so that the driver, when he looks down, he instantly sees if something is out of sorts, out of the parameters that they should be in, and then you can focus in from there.
Just looking here at Sasha Fenestras. Difficult start to the season for Sasha Fenestras. Has actually managed to sort of get his season going a little bit more with a couple of stronger results over the last few races. Got some good points in Italy with the top 5 finish. Got a few more points on the board in Monaco as well. Now he's getting a bit more confidence back with that Nissan. As we look at Jean-Eric Vergne, again, soaring away at the wheel and fighting oversteer as he comes through that triple apex left-hander. As the fans watch on in the grandstand, expecting a good attendance here this weekend as well. They love Formula E in Berlin. Yeah,
they've always had a good attendance, and the fact is it's been here every year. Not necessarily at this circuit, because it was in the city centre at one point as well. But the Tempelhof area is a fantastic area. It's also got a big park behind it. And so on a lovely sunny Saturday afternoon, then they'll be flocking across to the race.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what is going to happen here today as well, especially in the race, because as we say, it's a bit of an unpredictable one. Good to see some papaya McLaren fans here as well.
8:23. Thank you for the help on that. I apologize that we had to go down.
And Scott Elkins there just informing all of the teams that we're ready to get the session back underway. So it'll start at 8:23 local time, so that's in about 30 seconds or so. We will get the session resumed.
Well, this is going to be a little bit like a quali pre-run. Because everybody wants to get in their final performance runs, but at the same time everybody will be fighting for position. So we're going to have 22 cars fighting for position.
Yep, so waiting for this session to get back underway here then. So the green flag flies and we get the session back underway after a short red flag period owing to the advertising banner, which was lying loose on the circuit, but thankfully with just under 7 minutes now left to go, we get the session back underway here for free practice 2 at Berlin Tempelhof. Looking here inside the Nissan garage, and then also inside the Porsche one. This is championship leader Pascal Wehrlein, who will be looking to try and capitalise on running after a shortened FP1 yesterday. Let's head down to another Porsche-powered team, the Andretti outfit, who have got their team principal Roger Griffiths chatting to Saunders.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, well, let's talk about one-lap pace, because it's been something that's kind of eluded Jake and Norman so far this season. But as it stands, both running in the top 10, promising for the day ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been working really hard on that. We've recognised it's kind of been our Achilles heel so far this season. And fortunately, Jake's been able to race from further back and, you know, get on the podium from there. But we know that we make life hard for him if we do that. So there's been a big emphasis on that, and I think last night we paid a lot of attention to specifically things like driving lines and things like that. So just really looking at what others are doing and seeing if there's a little bit that we can learn. We're not too shy to admit we're not always perfect first time out. So no, I think we're seeing a little bit of improvement there. Jake's feeling good this morning, just speaking to him. So yeah, hopeful to have a good showing and probably get one of the cars into the duels, if not both of them. So looking forward to seeing how qualifying plays out.
And, you know, even if it doesn't pan out, you know that you have the package to be able to work your way up the order, but also, you know, the risk that comes with that. And you have to look back to last season. Yourself and Jake know full too well what can happen if you're in the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've only got to look at what happened at the last race in Monaco as well. I mean, yes, we can make our way forward. Jake really races well. We get off the line well, but yeah, you are in that jungle, as you say, the carbon zone, as we refer to it. And, you know, you can lose your front wing quite quickly. And if that happens, then unfortunately your day's over. So trying to avoid that, and the further forward we can start, the less likely that is to happen.
Getting into the duels, first target of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, cheers, Roger. Thanks, Saunders, as well. It's an interesting point, that, actually, isn't it? Because we sort of say in those pedal-style races, qualifying isn't necessarily that important. But, you know, when, as Saunders refers to being in the jungle, that's being back in the pack. And it can just cost you, you know, so much. Oh, look at this. Driver's just slowing on the race. This is going to be a real headache, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly the point we were talking about just from the red flag. It's going to be so difficult to be able to have a clean lap. But the responsibility is for the drivers that are going slow, preparing for the next lap to be out of the way. And this is going to really compromise. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of good team radio with complaints coming in here.
I'm looking forward to the Super Reddit dropping next week when we stick it up on our Formula E YouTube channel. Just on board here with Mitch Evans as he makes his way through turn 6 and then into turn 7. Missed the apex, kissed the second one. Looking pretty handy so far is Mitch Evans. He's down in 16th place. We know he's got good pace. We know the Jaguars have been strong here in the past as well. Of course, new circuit layout. This is the run out of turn 9. You can see him constantly correcting the steering wheel. And then as we head in towards this triple apex left-hander to complete the lap, this is where we're seeing drivers getting caught in a fair bit of traffic.
Yeah, the problem is that the driver as well, that white line on the right-hand side, if they go across that, they're effectively off track. And so therefore then they can be penalised themselves. So it's a really, really difficult one. As now there's a few lap times coming in. So Gunter is up into 5th, Evans into 6th, directly behind him.
I tell you what, you wouldn't half get target fixation going into that first quarter. It's so wide there, and you've got the attack mode on the exit of, on the middle of turn 2, I should say, rather. So it can be quite easy, I would imagine, to miss your braking point, follow a driver into there, and they're going into attack mode. You're trying to run your normal line and clip the apex at turn 2. Before you know it, you're straight off.
Yeah, but you've got to, it's like when you're following someone and they go off in front of you.
I do that frequently.
You've got to actually focus on where you're going, not where they're going.
Yeah, that's a good point. Here is Nick Cassidy then, making his way through turn 9, down in 14th place at the moment. Not a lap time to light at the time screen so far. Yeah,
Jean-Eric Verne's just been given a black and white flag, driving unnecessarily slowly. That will be in this corner here, preparing the lap.
The problem is that they're going out wide to try and sit off the racing line through the first part of it, but they come out so wide through the second apex that they're almost on the racing line once again. It's a bit of a catch-22.
Cassidy popped himself up into 3rd place.
Yeah, good final sector there, actually.
Yeah,
fastest
very
overall.
good. And Maxi Gunter now quickest in the 1st sector, so with 2 minutes to go, then the times are dropping pretty quickly. People are getting up to speed.
Yeah, these attack mode laps now coming in as well. This is Sergio Sette camera. Whoa! Close to the back of Stoffel Van Dorn into turn 2. That would have given him something to think about.
Got to be honest, I wouldn't have been too happy if I was setting camera there. I think Stoffel could have maybe done a little bit more to be out of the way when he was really letting him past.
Yeah, less than ideal for Sergio Sette camera, and I wonder whether the stewards might be having another look at that there for Stoffel Van Dorn.
It wasn't intentional, that I am very, very sure.
Here at Max Gunter then, as he comes across the line and goes quickest overall then. Fantastic for Max Gunter.
Jean-Eric Verne got the quickest 1st sector of anyone. Cassidy's radio.
Cool down lap. That's P3, 1/10. Will you push 350 next lap?
Okay, I want to do oversteer control on... How do I do that? Sorry.
Oversteer control, normally that's just don't hit the throttle so hard, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's lots of ways to achieve it. And the throttle is one of them, I do agree, but you want to keep the throttle down and have the control as much as possible. As you see Deruvela coming through the left-right chicane now, the rear of the car squirming around as he was trying to get the power down and needed a little bit more oversteer control, I would say there.
Yeah, really impressed actually with his pace so far this weekend. This is going to be possibly the 2nd session he'll have ended up inside the top 10. Still 20 seconds left of it, still a few personal bests and also attack mode laps beginning to come in, but this is as strong a start as we've seen for the Indian rookie in a Formula E weekend so far in 2024. Let's see how he goes as we head into qualifying later on this morning. He's winning the duels on one occasion so far this year. If you remember back to Diriyah, didn't actually end up finishing that race. See him fighting oversteer there on the entry of the corner, sends him wide.
And he still had 2 wheels on the circuit though.
See what it looks like for Deruvela as he comes to the timeline. I think he would have dropped a bit of time in that final section. Yeah, indeed he has. He comes and takes the checker flag. It will be no better than 8th quickest as we look inside the Maserati garage. His race engineer there. Here is Pascal Wehrlein, score on the door, 10th fastest for the German at the moment.
10th fastest, obviously missed FP1 yesterday with a quite dramatic technical problem. Had to change every part of the electrics of the car. Pops himself into 3rd, but also just at exactly the time he crosses the line, a little notification comes up that he's under investigation for a technical infraction.
Dearie me, it never rains but it pours for Pascal Wehrlein. The personal best times are coming in, the lap times lighting up our timing screens like a rental car dashboard as Kelvin van der Linde improves up to 14th quickest. Don't think anyone's going to topple Max Gunter. What about Jordan King? Where does he end up the session? In 15th fastest. Got a yellow down at turn 13 and at 15 as well, just at the end of this session. I don't think it's too much to worry about.
The yellow is because now the checker flag's out, so they'll come round for a practice start so that people slow down appropriately for that, as now everybody has passed the checker.
Yeah.
Surprise for me, though, Lucas Di Grassi pops himself up into second. He was quickest for a significant part of that session. So definitely a stronger performance by the APT organisation and Lucas.
Yeah, needs to get his season going, really, does Lucas Di Grassi. It has been a challenging 2024, as we alluded to earlier on for him. But this man, Max Günther, very impressive.
Okay, stay in target, and we'll go practice start right-hand side. Small burnout.
So, fastest overall.
Everybody's going slow. I don't want to go offline too much. Yeah, copy. Yeah. Keep your tires clean, and well done, that's P1.
So I'm assuming that he doesn't want to go offline because he doesn't want to muddy up his tyres for that practice start.
Yeah, correct. And the other thing is you don't really want to muddy them up. There's second place, Lucas Di Grassi. Interesting looking at the fastest sectors. Then it was 3 different drivers. Verne was fastest in Sector 1, Günther in Sector 2, and then Cassidy in Sector 3. So 3 different powertrains, basically, that are 3 different cars, teams, in the 3 different sectors.
You see what it means for ABB Cupra as well. They've obviously had a challenging couple of seasons. They took their only pole position of the season here last year, if you remember, in the wet conditions. So be looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. Of course, not expecting wet conditions here this weekend in Berlin, but opportunity certainly does knock for that team. And with Lucas Di Grassi second fastest, that is a strong start to the day for round 9 here.
Well, certainly it's better than being at the other end of the grid, and it builds a little bit of confidence and feeling.
22 drivers separated by a second as well. That's very, very close margins. I mean, I know it's only a 62-second lap, so the margins aren't going to be that little bit tighter compared to some other longer circuits that we have on the calendar, but nonetheless, very, very close courses.
That's just going to mean that you cannot make a mistake. If you make a very slight mistake, and we're talking about the best sectors, no one's hooked it up so far. If someone hooks it up, they'll be probably 2/10 quicker than what the fastest time is, just by practical point of working it out. As we see, also just going through the attack mode, that's super, super wide there at turn number 2. And so they're going to take a lot of speed out of turn 2, running in towards turn 3 when they do take attack mode in the race.
Well, here is the man of the moment then, Max Günther, fastest overall at the end of free practice 2 in the Maserati MSG machine. Great start to their day. Let's confirm those results for you from free practice 2. So it is the German who is fastest on home soil here in Berlin this weekend. Lucas Di Grassi second by just 0.12 of a second. Then Pascal Wehrlein in third place ahead of Eder Mortara and Jean-Eric Verne. Nick Cassidy P6 ahead of Oliver Rowland, Norman Natto, Stoffel Van Dorn, and another top 10 finish in free practice for the second Maserati of Jehan de Ruvela. The 2 Stellantis-powered machines bookending that top 10 at the top and the bottom of the order. Just 0.3 of a second separating those 10 drivers as well. So again, very, very close between them. A little bit further down the order, Mitch Evans just outside ahead of the fastest man from FP1 yesterday, Antonio Felix Acosta. Sergio Sese Camara ahead of super sub Kelvin van der Linde, ahead of fellow super sub Jordan King. Jake Dennis, reigning champion, down there in 16th place, but team principal Roger Griffiths not too worried about their pace at this stage of the day. Ahead of Fenestraz, Hughes, Barnard, Paul Aaron, Dan Ticktum and Joel Eriksson down there in 22nd place. And the 2 Envision drivers with a little bit of work to do ahead of qualifying here this later on this morning, I should say. Pascal Wehrlein missed FP1 owing to that rather dramatic technical problem. Bounces back though in FP2, third quickest by less than 1/10 of a second. 2017 champion Lucas Di Grassi there, second fastest in the ABB Cupra, and Max Günther making it 3 different powertrains inside the top 3. The Maserati ending up as the fastest car overall here in Berlin for the second free practice session of the weekend. Well, the sunshine is out. The drivers will now go back into the garages. They'll be heading also down to the weighbridge as well to make sure that they're all weighing as they should be. And then we will get qualifying underway later on this morning here. Of course, the session will be the 2 group stages, then we'll go into the quarter-final duels, then into the semis, and then we'll go into the finals. And here is the man of the moment, Max Günther, as he ends that session quickest overall. I think he'll be pretty pleased with that result there, Alan. I think he's had a good session, and likewise this man here, Jehan de Ruvela, another top 10 in FP.
Yeah, it's important to have a good run in towards qualifying, but also from a team perspective to have both the cars up there, I think is super important. And that's been one of the strengths of this team with Mitch Evans and Cassidy this year. They've had both cars up there in terms of performance, and you know where you are. And then you're doing fine detail changes as opposed to searching for a bigger gap.
Absolutely. Well, there is Nick Cassidy chatting with race engineer Phil Ingram. 6th quickest for Cassidy at the end of FP2. Let's see what he's going to be able to pull out of the bag. Of course, qualifying a couple of weeks ago in Monaco was in the course. Both of the Jaguar drivers actually made mistakes on their flying laps, which prevented them from progressing forwards into the next stages. So they'll be hoping for better fortunes here this time. Highlights then from free practice 2. The green light came on, and we saw all the drivers filtering on to the circuit. Relatively uneventful first sort of 15 minutes of the session, but for this moment here for Joel Eriksson in the Envision, just keeping the barrier there on the run down out of turn 10 into the triple apex left-hander. We saw Dan Ticktum with a super slide through that corner as well, as he decided to explore the limits of grip. He then clipped the barrier on the outside of turn 4, which brought out the red flag due to the advertising hoarding being stuck in the middle of the circuit. Not the first time we've seen that so far this weekend. We saw Jean-Eric Verne also fighting the car over the course of that session. And we saw Lucas Di Grassi going 2nd quickest in the Apps Cupra as well. Joseph Rocker watching on there, race engineer for Mitch Evans. This was a pivotal moment here for Sergio Santacamera, getting balked there behind Stoffel Van Dorn as he began a flying lap. Not intentional there from Stoffel, but certainly something to think about, especially when we head into the group stages of qualifying. Those margins get even tighter. Pascal Wehrlein, 3rd quickest for him at the end of free practice 2. But no stopping the man who was at the top of the pile, Max Günther in the Maserati. Fantastic job from the German to begin his Saturday at the top of the pile on home soil. Looking forward to seeing what he can do come qualifying. Well, the championship leader, despite missing a little bit of track time here yesterday, he's not let it affect him too much here, Alan. You said he learns those circuits fairly quickly, and well, he's managed to adapt pretty nicely with 3rd fastest.
Yeah, he has, and the team obviously had a good setup from Da Costa yesterday. A good feeling for it, and he's back into the game, back into the fight. I'm sure there's a little bit more to come out of Pascal, but 7/100ths of a second from being fastest, I suggest he's going to be competitive.
Yeah, it certainly does. What will Pascal Wehrlein be able to do come qualifying here later on this morning? We will find out in a couple of hours' time. 10:20 is when qualifying begins local time, so not too far away, about an hour and 35 minutes or so until we get it underway. Can this man, Lucas Di Grassi, spring a few surprises in the Apps Cupra? We'll be back for qualifying here later on this morning at Berlin Tempelhof for round 9 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship.
Well, my thanks to everyone for that. We'll be back later for the action. Take care. Bye.